lunch menu. And, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Rankings came out for players and teams for Texas high school football. I'm excited about it. We have a lot to look forward to, a lot we expected. I thought Longview was going to come out ranked somewhere between 2 and 4, come out ranked number 1. What do you think about it, Frank?
I've been trying to tell y'all for the better part of a year. This team, if they're not in Dallas playing for a state title, I'll actually be surprised. We're talking Division
Did
One.
Frank did
All
Frank just say he's been trying to tell us?
Yes. Yes.
I've been
Come on up,
I've been
Frank.
screaming from the top of the rooftops to everybody. But anyway, the secondary is filled with Division One caliber athletes. You got two receivers with D1 offers. Obviously, one's one of the best in the country. Jordan Allen's put on some good weight. He's throwing the ball well this offseason. I'm telling you, they're just going to be fun to watch. Just going to.
Well, I mean, so returning 6 on offense, 8 on defense, and if I'm not mistaken, 6 of those 8 are underclass. They're still going to be underclassmen.
Yeah, the whole secondary, including Willie
So,
Nelson's going to end up at a Power 5 school. And Jeremiah Rugley, remember that name, a
I
defensive
do.
end that's going to be a monster this year. And, as the season progressed last year, they just got better and better and better, and to the point where they almost upset the number 1 team in the state that defeated them the first game of the year. And a couple things just go their way. They probably do.
If I remember right, so Denton Ryan, first game of the year, playing at the Star, they lost like 45-7 or something like that.
They did.
I mean, it was bad. I remember, after the game, you know, players were embarrassed, and to come back, they really should have beat them in the playoffs. They were just, I'm not going to say the moment was too bright, but they were just too young. That Denton Ryan team was a really, really good football team.
Yeah, and it was surprisingly, they were on the 2-yard line first and goal in the first half, and did a Tim Tebow pop pass, and just unfortunately, Denton Ryan happened to have the number 1 linebacker in the country back there, intercepted in the end zone, and that was the difference in the ball game.
It's crazy how it comes down.
Can we get a prediction of a season, what their season is going to be? A prediction on the record?
Yeah, I don't see them losing a regular season game, and I got a feeling we're gonna get Denton Ryan Part 4 versus Longview.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just yet another year. I mean, you got the number 3 running back in the 2024 class in Taylor Tatum, and it can be argued right now that he should be in the 1 or 2 spot. I mean, we just saw him in really half a season last year. He's one of the top baseball players in the nation. The kid can go. We know it. And then you have Jalen Hill out at wideout. In my opinion, I have a lot of strong arguments that he should be the number 1 wide receiver in the state of Texas, and he's not because this guy from DeSoto, I believe, 50% of the passes he caught were for touchdown. But either way, Jalen Hill's a top talent, like a generational talent at wide receiver. The Wrigley kid at defensive end, the secondary is just unbelievable. They don't lose a district game. Off the top of my head, I can't think of their entire schedule off the top, but they're not going to lose a district. They're going to win their district easily. And where it goes from there, they shouldn't play any top tier opponent until week 4. So, I would be ecstatic for Longview to make it back and win state.
Yeah, and if they just pick up where they left off, they're good enough to win state before the season starts. Obviously, they're ranked number 1, so I'm not the only one that believes that. But if they incrementally improve again this season, it might be one of the better high school football teams we've ever seen in the area if those players get better. And one of my favorite stories about Taylor Tatum, I tell it all the time, is when we were up here in Texarkana for a baseball tournament, he runs the 4th leg of a 4x100 and walks across the parking lot, puts his baseball jersey on, and leads off the baseball game with an opposite field home run.
Yeah, Taylor's a great athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's special. He's making a lot of buzz right now. Every other day, he's getting an offer from a new school, Power 5 school. He's going to be special to watch this year.
Yeah, I told him that at the last 7-on-7 game. I said, hey, man, I don't get paid by the hour. You need to quit with these offers.
Yeah, he got offered by Ole Miss yesterday.
Yeah.
And then the crystal ball says Jalen Hill's going to Texas. I was my phone. Frank called me yesterday asking if I knew anything about it, and I was like, no. And it wasn't 2 minutes after I set my phone down, my phone starts ringing from different guys around the state wanting to know what we know. I'm like, dude, I don't know anything on it yet.
He's keeping those cards close to the vest, and I don't blame him. You know what I
I
mean?
don't blame him either. But you got
Yeah.
Arch Manning going down to Texas. And that's they've been on a couple of recruiting visits together. That's a big sign right there.
That opened the floodgates, man. The recruits just started piling into Texas after that. They're running out of room. But you make room for a player like that.
Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning, I mean, you really can't beat that right now.
Yeah, if Arch is coming to Texas like he says he is, I mean, Quinn Ewers is going to have to transfer. And I hate it for him and his family, but you don't have a Manning on campus and him not start. There is no competing for that job. It's his.
I agree.
I mean, it's either his or he left. I just got a text from one of my good friends, Tyson Jefferson, the wide receiver from DeSoto, just committed to Texas.
Yeah, I saw that before we went on air. But with Quinn, he's already had a year at Ohio State. That means that if he's as good as advertised, you know, he was ranked the highest quarterback, one of the highest quarterbacks in history coming out of high school. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. If he goes out and blows it out, he can go to the NFL when Arch shows up.
No,
Arch. I mean, obviously Arch.
Arch will be there in January
as a freshman.
You can't tell me you get a commitment from Arch Manning. One can say is just football royalty last name, and he didn't get promised something.
Fair, yeah. Who knows what he got promised, but
the Quinn, I mean, he's really got 4 seasons left, Frank. He didn't play at Ohio State. I mean, he was in for a series, which he still got his red shirt, which what really should have been his senior year. I don't know. I mean,
no. What I'm saying is, if he's as good as advertised these 2 seasons, he can bounce for the NFL. Because
I mean, that's true.
Because he will have been out of high school for 3 years.
So the wide receiver room at Texas right now is stacked. They have 4 of the 5 guys run sub 4.40s. But like every other year, man, can they put it together? That's where it comes together. But you know, if you have a Manning coming there, they obviously know something your average football fan doesn't.
Sure. Yeah, they're not going to make that decision as a family if they don't see. What that tells me is that Texas is probably making its way to the SEC sooner than we thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to go next year now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
and they will play A&M next
2024, year. I thought I saw last.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah, or is it 2024?
Yeah.
I keep thinking it's 23. I said these kids are graduating in 23, so it throws me off what year went on. But man, let's switch it over. Let's go to 5A. Texas High comes out ranked number 10th in the state, returning 6 on offense, 3 on defense. And man, did they pick a really tough school to start their season off with. It's going to be played in AT&T Stadium. I think they're playing Frisco Lone Star, which is ranked number 2 in the state now, behind Longview. And that's going to be a tough game, especially right off the bat. They have a young team. I mean, I think their offense will be okay. The main thing is, how do you replace 2,100 yards that Braylon Stewart got you? And I think they can do that by committee. But, man, this defense right off the bat, they're going to have some young guys out there. It's going to be led by Brandon Childs at defensive tackle, but that's a really high-powered offense that they're just first game right off the bat playing against.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them starting off like that, especially with a new guy at the helm, right? We've got a picture right there in that picture right there. Cody Reese, he's going to be a new quarterback for him. So he's got to control that offense. He's got to get out there. And then on top of that, we got a new guy in the backfield as well with Braylon Stewart being gone. So it's just going to be a hard team for them to play with that very young and very new offensive leader.
I think they're going to have a first, second down back, and then a third down back. I think that's the way that they replicate a Braylon Stewart. Cody Reese, he's going to – I mean, it's either going to go really good or really, really bad. I don't think there's anywhere in between. I think the offense will be okay. It's the defense that it's yet to be seen. We'll see what it looks like. I mean,
exactly.
But man, they picked a big opponent for week 1 to find out.
Exactly. That secondary, that's what we normally don't think about. Michael Thomas is gone. Terrell Robertson's gone.
Mm-hmm.
They got some big shoes to fill on that back end back there. But they do have in the front, who I think is the best defensive lineman in the city, Childs. He's a monster. He plays well with his hands. He's got good feet. He controls the line of scrimmage. I think they're going to be okay there.
As far as interior linemen go, yeah, like I can't think of another defensive tackle that I would rather have other than Brandon Childs. If you go outside at the defensive end, I think Vic Shaw. I mean, I spent some time around him last week. He's dropped some weight, dropped some good weight that he needed to lose, and he's looking like a college defensive end right now. But a lot of Texas High's success, they're going to have to make teams throw the ball, and so they're not going to give up much in the middle with Brandon Childs standing there. It's just how good is his secondary, and we're going to find out quick because Frisco Lone Star throws the ball.
Yeah.
But like any team, I mean, I think Texas High easily wins their district. They'll have some games where they can grow up, with the, playing Pine Tree and Hallsville, some teams that historically just can't beat them. Coming off a 12-1 season, these younger guys, they have some really good classes coming up. These younger guys get a chance to get on the field on the big stage at AT&T. They're playing a team that's really, really good. Get a good chance to see the speed of the game at the next level for them. Play in front of a big crowd, something they can go ahead and get experience. So when they get 4 or 5 rounds deep here in a year or two, they're prepared for it.
Most definitely. I want to ask y'all something right here too. Just speaking on this, that preseason, waking guys up. What do you guys think about that? Is it better to play that kind of cushy preseason and get your guys rolling, go in the district maybe 4-5-0, or is it better to play that hard nosed pre-district where you guys, maybe get beat up or doing something?
I think it depends, Nick. Depends what your goals are. If your goal is to win a state championship, that's everybody's goal, but we all know that's really only attainable for maybe 4 or 5 teams. Truth be told, we all know that's the truth, even though nobody will say it.
Yeah.
So if you're one of these teams that, like, let's say you're on the hot seat, you can't make that schedule. But if you've had success, for instance, let's use somebody not around you. Let's use Carthage, not a local team. Carthage ain't getting no easy team on the schedule. Yeah. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I would guarantee there is nobody out of district that's terrible that's playing them. It's just not. Why would you do it? You know what exactly. I mean? So I think, like, for instance, Texas High's right here, this very first game, that's a combination of things. That's a combination of they've been really good. They can't get anybody on the schedule, I'm assuming. And then you go down and you look at, like, Pleasant Grove. They're playing Brock, who's powerhouse in 3A. I believe they're in 3A. Won several state championships. They're playing a team out of Midland. They can't get an easy game. So, in my opinion, if you have a chance to win state like every single year, or and it's attainable, I don't think you have a choice. But if you're an up and comer, you want to get your team some good experience. Maybe you schedule a game like that, and maybe you have a gentleman's agreement with the coach not to run it up too bad on you, kind of deal. But the great teams, I mean, I don't think anybody calls John King at Longview, calls Josh Gibson and is like, hey, I want to bring my team down there to get beat by 60 by you. I don't think teams are making that phone call. You know what I mean?
And it depends on who you ask. If you ask Coach King, he'll tell you that iron sharpens iron. Take it last year, for example. They started off the season at Jerry World with at the Star with the #1 team in the state, then went and played a 6A team in Tyler Legacy on the road, and then welcomed a team from Arkansas that hadn't lost a game in 5 years. I mean, they're not playing anybody that they know for a fact they're going to roll over. That's how you grow.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point. Like, Coach King's not about to lose his job.
Yeah.
Gibson's not about to lose his job. Stanford's not about to lose his job. So like they can go play these teams that they may or may not beat. But they know it's going to get them ready for the playoffs every single year. I don't know if I took over a job. I don't know. Somebody name a school that's not around here. Just give me a random one. All right, Van. All right, let's just say you took over the Van coaching job tomorrow. You're not about to go out there and schedule these teams. You know what I mean?
True.
That's not what you do. So, and you got to know you have the athletes to compete at that level. But like I said, like these coaches, they're not getting calls from people wanting to play them.
Yeah, but the original point with Texas High's insanely difficult first opening game is it's going to humble those kids, and they're going to experience something they've never experienced, which is either going to be a really good thing or a really bad thing, and that's where Coach Stanford comes in.
Yeah, I think it also helps kids too. Like you're going to a school like Texas High, or you go to a school like Longview, you kind of hold a sense of entitlement. Like we are, we are at this level right here. So playing a team that might come out and smack you in the mouth that first game could really help you out.
I mean, they're going to be good. I would love to see this game. There's just going to be a lot of points scored. I mean, there's just no getting around it. Like Frisco Lone Star is going to score points, and they're a division above Texas High. There's going to be a lot of growing up doing in this first football game.
Yeah, it's something just like in the Longview game. It could snowball. The next thing you know, it's 38-7 at halftime, and everyone's looking around with a stunned look on their face, like, "Whoa, what just happened?"
Yeah,
and
you know what? If you didn't watch that first football game with Denton Ryan, you wouldn't have known they turned the ball over 4 times in the red zone. Like you would have not known any of that, and it wasn't as bad as the score showed. And of course, when you go back and watch them play in the playoffs, I mean, Longview could have won that game.
Yeah,
but so let's move along a little bit. Let's move over to Pleasant Grove. Returning 8 on offense, 5 on defense, and they get a number 5 ranking, which I found really odd. And the reason why, I think Carthage deserves to be number 1. I think nobody's arguing that. They're returning a lot. I mean, they're Carthage. Gilmer, I can understand maybe at 2 because of the way they beat Pleasant Grove last year and the manner that it happened. I get it. But then it's like this number 3 and number 4. I don't really understand. Other than maybe some politics got involved and they were like, well, we have teams in the same area, 2 in the same district. Maybe we don't want to put them at 1, 2, or 1, 2, and 3, which looks to be what they did. They just didn't want to put them there, which makes me really kind of question their ranking system from here going forward.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm going to have to find who the other ones were. But I'm telling you, they don't want any part of Gilmer, Carthage, or Pleasant Grove. Here, I got it right here. Wichita Falls. They went 12-3 last year, and I can't remember that region, but it ain't a good region. And then West Orange Stark returned 7-8 off an 11-2 season, which West Orange Stark is historically a big Texas high school football name, but hasn't been in recent years.
Exactly. They haven't been since what, the 2017? 2017 was their last run.
And then you got Cuero, Wimberley, Glen Rose, Silsby, some team named Geronimo, Aubrey, Belleville. But once again, going back to scheduling the best teams in the state, I mean, I don't know. I really don't understand how it's not just the talent returning on this team. You have the number 4 running back in the nation in the 2024 class. You have a UTSA commit at defensive end. You have one of the best athletes in the state at Akari. You have a returning running back. I don't know how many yards at the top with RJ. You got some good defensive linemen in Jonah Bates and Coy Martin, which had the stats to go with it. I just don't. It's weird to me, this ranking system they're using, and And when I talk to them about it, I don't think they have a really good reasoning behind it either.
Yeah, I don't really understand that. I don't understand that number 5 rank for PG either. Like you said, you got your quarterback coming back. I know he was hurt last year, but when your quarterback comes back, that normally boosts you up. And then you have, like you said, RJ Collins is going to be big on the outside for Pleasant Grove this year. Vic Shaw going to stay in the backfield. He's a Division I football player. They have some offensive linemen with some Division I offers as well. So I don't really understand how those teams got put in front. But we have Tyson Jefferson saying that West Orange dropped down from 4A Division I into the Division II. So that's probably gonna put them up above PG, I guess.
They're not going to play them. I mean, if they played them, it would be in the state championship game. Which, another thing to think about this year, Pleasant Grove's going to have to play Carthage Gilmer in round 3 or 4 this year. Or maybe play one in round 3, other in round 4. So this is what it goes back years ago. I mean, like 10, 20 years ago when maybe 1 or 2 teams got in, maybe 2 small teams, 1 big team, and they had their little thing. The problem with it is the way they did the divisions this year more than likely the state champion is going to be decided in week 3 or 4, which is terrible. Because once any of these 3 teams get through each other, after that, I mean, it's going to be bad football, including the state championship game, which is on national television. It's just not going to be great. Who are they going to play in a state game that's going to compete year in and year out? Now, we're not talking about last year with the Stephenville team. That was a great team and, deserved to be there, but that doesn't happen every year.
Mm-mm.
So Gilmer, Carthage, Pleasant Grove, somebody's stacking up state championships here over the next couple of years, barring somebody has just a phenomenal player like we saw that one year.
Exactly. Yeah, the Jordan Weddington kid definitely is a generational talent. You're not going to see that very often. But I think Jemerson has a point too. The UIL may just be tired of seeing, an East Texas State Championship. They don't want to see a Gilmer Carthage every year or a Pleasant Grove Gilmer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
But the problem with that is, and I understand the argument, and you have to think somebody had that argument with the UIL for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like Carthage is close, like I get it, but if you're going to have them play in that South region, like they need to just stay in the South region. But here's what's happened, in my opinion, don't know. UIL got tired of hearing from these South Texas Houston teams about how they don't have a chance to go play. Well, guess what? Now, Carthage, Pleasant Grove, or Gilmer, and we know, I would bet any amount of money right now, one of them is going to be playing for the state championship. And whoever they're playing has zero chance to beat them.
Yeah, unless they just
Like,
get hot.
if you're like, oh, you're wrong, well, like, why does Carthage play for it every year? Why does Gilmer play for it every year? You know what I mean? Why does Pleasant Grove go 3 times in a row? Because those teams in those areas just aren't as good. Like, there's no other way you can explain it.
Exactly. Once you get into the playoffs, once you make it out of this area, this region, you pretty much can walk it.
Yeah, and then so we're going to have a state championship game. No hate to Tyson here, but we're going to have blowout games in the state championship games in 4AD2, and I'll make a wager right now it's going to be a 21-plus win, and one of those 3 teams are going to be in it. There's nobody outside of those 3 teams that can win the state, that can go to the state championship in their region. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think the UIL messed up on that.
Yeah,
and watch next time.
It'll get jumbled back up.
So, if there are things to get one of these other regions teams playing in it, well, good job, but they're going to get embarrassed. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But, leaving Pleasant Grove, LE, they're returning 5 on offense, 6 on defense including the UTSA commit. Tracy Revels, they're returning to quarterback that threw for 1,350 yards, 12 TDs. Cal and W.T. Jones are going to get, I'm assuming, more of an active role in this roster. Caden Cooper should get a lot more catches this year, should be on the field a lot more than we saw him last year. Liberty Hollow on paper, it's just one of these teams that, like, has a chance to be good. They're not ranked in top 25. And, like, I get it. But, Van's ranked at 14. They're returning 5 and 6. Liberty Ilo's returning 5 and 6. Liberty Ilo played them really well last year in both those games. It's just like, can Liberty Ilo put it together this season?
I think they can, and I think you just mentioned a name right there. It's going to be really big for Liberty Ilo that we don't talk about much, but it's a really good player, Caden Cooper. He goes up and gets the ball. He runs great routes. He's one of those guys that's not really out there with the rah stuff, but he's getting the job done. And I think he's going to be a really, really big part. Along with Tracy Revels on the defensive end, and I think playing in that receiver position this year too, it's going to help them out a lot. And then, of course, Cal and WT came into town last year, took town by storm, showing their athletic ability. Liberty Ilo is going to be a team to be reckoned with this year.
Frank has nothing to say.
I do. I mean, I'd love to have something to say, but you guys are around those kids often. I don't have much time to see Liberty Ilo. I do know that I was there for the LEPG game this year, and that was one of the more electric atmospheres I've seen down there in a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anytime they play, in my experience, it's always a great atmosphere. It's been one-sided since we started game day, but you hear like some of the history at Liberty Ilo, and it's not like Liberty Ilo is going to be a playoff team. They just happen to be in my opinion, the toughest district in the state of Texas for 4A Division II. I mean, Pleasant Grove, Gilmer have just been battling it out the last couple of years. But Liberty Isle gets in the playoffs. I mean, they can go. It's just it's a tough region.
Might be
It
the
really
toughest
is.
district in all the states combined. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of a 5A district that's got that many top 5, top 10 teams in it.
I think
Most definitely.
you're right. It would definitely
It
top
may
5.
be the best district in the state in general.
I think there have been years. I know that I saw in this thing there's a district in Houston where every team's ranked in the top 25.
Mm.
So
That's a good deal.
it's a 5-team district. So one really good team is going to get left out.
That's wild.
Yeah. But before we get off Liberty Isle, if you go back to last season, the games that they lost, I mean, they were there. They were right there in those ball games.
Yeah.
You know, a fumble here or a recover fumble because they were forcing them, but they just weren't getting them back. Recover that fumble and they win the game. You know what I mean? Or one pass that was dropped or one pass deflected and they win the game. So I think they're going to come back with some momentum. Those van losses were close. I think they're going to be a good team.
Yeah, you know, JJ, he has to grow up this year with, you know, his decision making. 1,350 yards, 12 TDs. You know, for him, this got to be a 1,700 to 2,000 yard seasons. He's got to throw more touchdowns and interceptions. I mean, he was forcing it a lot last year, but because they were behind late in some games. But you know, a lot of their success is going to be dependent on what happens at the quarterback position. How much are they going to let Cal Jones play at quarterback? What are they doing with Cal Jones if he's not at quarterback? What are they doing with WT?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he's in motion, like how is this going to look? And you can't really tell any of that from 7-on-7. You just can't. So there's a lot to like, but you just have to wait and see. I mean, we just don't know yet. We won't know till 2 or 3 games in the season.
That's another question I want to ask y'all too. What does 7-on-7 do for your program? Do you think it really gives you a good look at what you got coming up for the next season, or to kind of give you kind of some false hope because nobody's in pads and not hitting each other out there?
Here's what I think. I went to the state 7-on-7 tournament. And of course, I watched a lot of footballs down there. I about died. It's so hot. Because you're good at 7-on-7 means absolutely nothing. I think the purpose of 7-on-7, if I'm a coach, I mean, for instance, Pleasant Grove finished 5th in the state out of 326 teams. I mean, they run the ball 95% of the time. Okay, they played a team that if they had pads on, those kids would have been pulled off that field. I mean, Caden McFadden's out here. I can think of one particular play. If he'd have had pads on, like that kid would have been done.
Yeah.
But because it's 7-on-7, they're running little pick plays and this and that. I mean, it's not real football. I guess that's what we get at. It's a lot of the reasons like I can't have respect for 6 and 8 man football. While it's fun to watch, I just don't think it's real football in my opinion. I don't think you can take this 6 and 8 man football, and I'm not saying ever because there's been like 1 or 2 of the Cowboys has a linebacker that played 8-man football. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying it doesn't transition to real football. And it doesn't matter how good you are at throwing the ball in 7-on-7, you aren't about to get your head blown off.
Yeah.
Like you cannot factor that in. You know, so if Willie Nelson's attacking me and I'm trying to catch a ball 7-on-7, I know I'm not getting hit, you know. But it's different when you hear football, when you hear footsteps with pads on. We know that. So I don't know. The reason I think 7-on-7 is important is because it gets your team together when you're not supposed to be together. Not supposed to be together, quotations. It gets you more time as a team, which I think is really important. But if you win state at 7-on-7, like, hey, good job, but it means nothing.
Yeah.
Till pads come on. I mean, you can have a smart quarterback that can put the ball in places, but, you know, if the receiver knows he's not getting hit, that's just different. And plus, you can do stuff you can't. I mean, 4 seconds, you know, whatever. But like 4 seconds, I mean, if Vic Shaw or Brandon Childs is a second and a half from just knocking your helmet off, that matters.
That matters.
So So I don't put any stock in 7-on-7, other than it keeps your kids in shape, it keeps your team together. That's where it is for me, but that's my opinion. I'm sure there's some 7-on-7 directors that would have a better argument.
I'm of a similar opinion, but I think that it can help a little bit with the timing issues that you don't have time to work out in off-season workouts between quarterback and receiver. And we're not talking routes and route trees and decision making. We're talking like those fades to Jalen Hale, those fades to Kalen Reese that Coach King's not going to work on in practice. You know what I mean? Like That's what I'm talking about timing wise. Hey, snap, throw it to a spot, that kind of stuff. So it definitely is going to help them with the timing. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's just for fun. It's what it is. It's fun to watch. It's fun to play. But no, if Buda Garrett's back there about to hit you over the middle, you ain't making the same pass that you made in 7-on-7.
Right. And I tell you what, I guess it's maybe because we're down, there's a track between us and the stands typically. I forgot how vocal parents were. And that's like, those parents sit right on the field. And dude, let me tell you, like, you talking about, I ain't gonna repeat some of the things I heard, but dude, you got somebody has a stopwatch and they're keeping up the time. There's parents out there at the stopwatch. No, that was 4 seconds. The dude who's the referee saying it's not. They're yelling at them. They're coaching the kids from the side. I mean, dude, it's just like, what are y'all doing?
What are y'all doing?
But I just got a message from one of my buddies, Tyson, and he says Gilmer's having to play Chapel Hill right off the bat, which I don't know if y'all did any of y'all go with me to the Tyler Chapel Hill game at the Star?
I did not.
During the playoffs? Tyler Chapel Hill is really good. Like,
who are they playing?
Austin LBJ is who they played.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah. Were you? Okay, because we stayed.
Yeah.
I was at the PG game they won in overtime. I can't remember who that was.
That was a few weeks before. This was like the game before state.
Gotcha. I wasn't there.
Dude, if I remember right, this game before state. Tyler Chapel Hill is stacked. I feel bad for Clint Fuller down in Kilgore because he's going to have his hands full. That quarterback, he's young too. Man, he reminded me of the way he plays reminds me of Vince Young, although he doesn't look like Vince Young. But they can ball. So if Gilmer's having to play them right off the bat, they're going to be in trouble. But that's the reason you play those. That's the reason you play those teams early. Play them early.
Having a QB this year as well. That's going to be a big change for them. Same last name, but
yeah, let's say same last name. The Llewellyn kid. I mean, just hand him the ball. Figure out a way to get him the ball.
Put him in motion to get it to him. Yeah.
But and then on the Arkansas side, Arkansas High, man, they have new everything this year. I mean, I don't know if it's a completely new coaching staff, but it's got to be close to a completely new coaching staff. Brand new coach with Coach Outlaw. I don't know what they're returning, but whole new offense, running a different style defense. He's won a state championship on the Arkansas side. He's also in the bloodline of Johnny Outlaw, which was a longtime coach at Lufkin. It's going to be exciting to see what they do over there. Throwing the ball around a lot in high school is a lot of fun, especially for the kids. So we should see a lot of good stats out of there. It's just I don't know what kind of team they're going to have this year.
Most definitely. And they hit the ground running. I mean, Coach Outlaw is not messing around. As soon as he got here, as soon as he could, they only had 1 week of school left. And he was like, oh, we only got 1 week of school left, but let's go ahead and see what we got. So they started the spring ball with 1 week of school left, and they, trying to figure out what he's got. And they've got Kyron Young coming back, who was one of our players of the week last year in the backfield. He's also going to play some linebacker for him this year. They got a new QB. I can't remember the name right now, so I'm not going to mess that up. But they got a new QB, and they're gonna put the dice out there and see where they roll.
Yeah, I think it's from my understanding, they hadn't played a JV game in like 4 years. They got to get that figured out. Sounds like that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to hit the hallways, get kids playing football again. Because I'm be honest, if you were sitting there as a freshman and like you're just a tackle dummy for 3 or 4 years, like that's no fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they're not in college. Nobody's making you do this. So why would you do it? I mean, I get it. So he gets that turned around. We'll see some Arkansas High of old here real soon, I believe.
Well, most definitely. They lost some big guys on the defense. The defensive end, Christian Torres, safety, Ricky Williams, those guys are gone. They're going to have to be replaced. But if you remember last year, they had Marcus Floyd. He's coming back at corner. They're going to have a couple guys that'll be able to run it for them.
Good. Well, I wish them nothing but the best. Hope they have a great season this year. And Texarkana, what do we have? We have 5 of the top 300 guys in the state of Texas all in one town. We have Lance Jackson's a top 25 player in his class. I mean, it's like, dude, the talent, you keep thinking, well, the talent's going to dry up, and it just hasn't yet.
It just hasn't. They keep coming out.
We're just in a great area for football.
Exactly. And
you have, like, T.J. Gray's on the top 300 list as well.
I've said it for years, and not just because I'm from here, obviously, and I play ball here, but this is the melting pot. This is where football lives in the state of Texas, I believe. I know the coverage has exposed it here in recent years, but even way back, I mean, there's just been guys just flowing out of here.
Well, I get frustrated with, like, the big media outlets. You look at, like, Dave Campbell, 247. Like, if you live in Dallas, Austin, Houston, like, no problem. You'll get all the coverage you want. But you live out in East Texas, especially where we live, they're not coming to Longview. They're not coming to Texarkana unless when Carthage played PG in the 1-versus-1 game, like, great atmosphere, whole 9 yards, they showed up. I have not seen them since, hadn't seen them before. So I get frustrated with those guys when they know the best football is being played out here and they just want to ignore it because, man, it's just so much easier to hit a game in Dallas or take a $100 flight to Houston and go see a game. You know what I mean?
Exactly. In those areas, like you said, it's easier for them. You go there and you can see 6, 7, 8 high schools, with guys that you want to see all in that one weekend. If you come out to East Texas, you may see 1 or 2 guys that you really want to see out here, maybe. But those guys are really, really good. So I understand how we don't have the coverage that can get all the way out here, but luckily we've kind of picked up the slack for those guys.
Yeah. So Frank, Texas High scrimmage in Longview this year once again.
Mm-hmm.
They keep score in their 2 quarters.
They don't. They don't play the scrimmage like they would a regular game. I noticed that last year. It's just they're not going to show anything, and I don't blame them, I guess. But if it was a game, y'all know what would happen. But scrimmage wise,
we don't know what would happen.
I mean, like Cody Reese, I think we're going to know how good he's going to be right off the bat. Like, I don't think this is going to be like a build-up thing where it's like, oh, he gets better every single week. I think we're going to see how good he is initially, and they're going to run an offense that kind of let me rephrase. They're going to throw passes that are his strengths, and like where Brayson McHenry had the entire offense, had the entire playbook, he could do what he wanted. He can make any throw on the field.
Yeah,
I don't think Cody Reese's junior year he's going to be able to do that. I think they're going to probably do half a playbook. Honestly, I don't know why they would do a full playbook. Looking at, let's just say district. I mean, they're going to win their district. Who's going to beat them? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to – it's not a game, but if these 2 teams played each other in week 1 at a neutral site, I'd be comfortable laying 27.5 with Longview and without thinking twice about it. Like, it would be bad. No offense, but we're talking about the number 1 team in the state, a half division ahead of you. You know what I mean? So they just aren't ready. Now, the Texas High with the 2 D1 defensive ends and Brayson McHenry, that team in Longview would have been a heck of a game. This one –
that's what I was going to ask. What
would it be a football game? Last year, I think Longview beats them fairly handily. The year before, it's a really good game. I wasn't in Longview, so I don't know what they had. But this year, no, it's not a contest. But it shouldn't be. That's the whole point. That's why
I would say this year it may be a little, it may be a little one-sided. But when we go back to last year or even the year before, when you start looking at that secondary for Texas High, I think they give Longview a little issue.
Yeah, week 1 it's a game. Week 12 it's not.
As we talk about Texas High, team was like in week 3 had double-digit takeaways already last year.
Yeah. It would have been a pretty good game. Yeah. Again, it all depends on when the game happens, right?
Yeah.
So here's the question. Do you think any Arkansas team's trying to play any Texas team anytime soon?
No, probably not.
Man, when I found out that team had lost in like 4 years, did y'all see how bad Did y'all see how bad they won the state championship game last year? Like, they blew a team out.
They're
in the biggest division in Arkansas football. Imagine what North Shore would have done to them.
Oh, I don't need
that's a 50-point game.
Yeah.
It's such a big difference just crossing
Yeah.
the border on football. It's crazy.
And I wonder what's the disconnect? Like, what's the difference? I don't understand how is that big of a difference where you can be Bryant and never lose a game in 12 seasons or whatever it is, and then you come to Texas and you see we know
And Longview's not even big school Texas. I mean, they're big school for our area. They're not a big school in the grand scheme of things.
Longview did everything they could to give that game away and still beat them.
did.
10.
Yeah. I just don't I have asked that question before, and it really comes down to there's not as many coaches on an Arkansas coaching staff, where like you're going to have coaches that all they do is coach football. Those coaches are teachers first on the Arkansas side, and they get a small stipend to coach football. So it's just it's just a different deal. I mean, I don't think it's that the kids are just not as good at football. It's not as big of a deal there as it is here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's just simply not as many of them. You know what I mean? It's a numbers thing. Hell, Allen's got 6,000 kids enrolled or something crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the biggest school there? What is Bryant's enrollment, you think? 1,500?
I don't know.
I'd like to know.
I'm sure Nick can Google it.
Yeah, I can.
But that's the difference. Their biggest level, their enrollment's probably 1,500 to 1,800. And then you go down to Allen, you're talking 5,000 to 6,000 kids sometimes.
It's crazy. And some of these schools, they're growing so fast. I mean, I was told there's a Frisco school that's going to be in like 3 or 4A this year, and they'll jump in the next thing up to 5, maybe even 6A, which means they're going to be a 5A school playing 3 and 4A football.
Yeah.
Brian's just a little over 2,000 as of 2020. That was the last.
That's a lot of students, Frank. That's a lot of. Hey, Google, Nick, Google where that would put them at in Texas football.
All right.
On over 2. So let's see. 4A in Texas is what, like, I think it stops at 850 or something. I don't know. Figure it out. 2,000 is a lot of dang kids for high school.
Do you think they could beat this year's 2A Division I state champ in Texas?
I'd have to look see who won. I don't think they would beat a 3A school state champion.
Yeah.
And Doty says Little Rock schools would be bigger than that. I mean,
they can have somebody if they want it. Huh?
Round Rock was the 2A state champion.
How many? Well, what's the where would their enrollment put them in Texas high school football?
That was 4A. They'll put them at 5A.
5A Division I.
Division II.
No, there ain't no way. 2,000. Hallsville's 5A Division II.
Well, yeah, 5A Division II. Yeah, that's what they're the same. That's around Hallsville.
How many students does Hallsville have?
1,500.
And Bryant has 2,000. No, they'd be a 6A school. They'd have to be.
Longview has about 2,100 in 2019. Just in case.
Yeah, so they're 5A Division II. They'll be a 5A Division II.
You mean Division I then? Because Longview's 5A Division I.
I mean, yeah, Division I. My bad.
Yeah, they ain't touching Longview next year. So who won state in 5A Division I? Do you remember, Frank? South Oak Cliff?
Yes.
All right, South Oak Cliff would have demolished that team.
And then
South Oak Cliff was Division II.
Yeah, I think College Station was Division I, Longview's division.
I feel like we should know this, and I don't know how we don't.
We're stay around the Division II as high as we go over here.
Well, the reason I don't know it is the second football season ended up with streaming a basketball game the next day.
I mean, we were there though. We were at the state championship game.
It was Dallas South Oak Cliff, South Dallas Oak Cliff.
I thought they were a 6A team.
Nope, 5A Division II, and then 5A Division II.
Well, who won Division I? Didn't Ron? No, they lost.
I think the College Station.
Katie.
Katie's 6A.
College
Station.
It's
Katie
We're making ourselves look.
Katie Pateau. I'm looking at it right now in the brackets.
Oh, do y'all know who transferred to the Katie Pateau?
Who?
That dude, the defensive end, number one Well, number one recruit in Texas. Dad was a coach at Allen, and he took a job at Katy Pateau, not even as a head coach, I don't believe. And I'll be able to tell you his name here in just a second. But he's transferring down there, and it's like, dude, give that dude's dad a raise or something.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
you gotta make it. You gotta stay. You gotta keep that kid. But the
Yeah.
6A champ, the 6A champ was Galena Park, North Shore, and then Division II for 6A was Austin Westlake.
Oh yeah. Imagine what they would have done.
I've seen Austin Westlake play 2 years in a row, man, and that is a different breed of football over there.
Yeah, Austin Westlake's good. I don't think they beat North Shore. North Shore won with a freshman quarterback.
So I found the enrollment numbers. To get to 6A, you've got to enroll more than 24. So Longview is habitually at that, just below that line between 5A and 6A. So the Bryant School would fall under the same exact division as Longview.
The QB.
Yeah, so that guy's name is David Hicks. He's a defensive end, 6'4", 270.
6'4", 270. Doty, what QB would be at Clemson? Who are you talking about?
The Austin Westlake quarterback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's good. Speaking of like some college stuff, like how do y'all think the NIL is affecting recruiting right now?
Affecting recruiting wise?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's weighing in. You have another thing to think about. If you're the guy being recruited, I want to go where it used to be. I just want to go where I can play. That was the biggest. That was the biggest issue. I want to go where I can play. But now I want to go where I can play, and I want to go where they pay. You know what I mean? I don't want to just go where I can play. Just playing is not enough for kids now. So that's where it changes. Then I think it also changes as the fact that guys are hopping in the portal more often to go to where the money is. So for the guy that's coming out of high school, I don't need you. I have a guy who's already done it for 2 years, or a guy who's already got a year under his belt. So I think that's where the NIL is right now.
Yeah. I'm all for people getting played. It seems like it's just out of control right now.
It's getting reckless.
Yeah. And what this tells me is that there's a door going to open up at some point for a developmental type league where these 5-star, 4-star athletes are going to have the choice to go play, sign 3-year contracts with a league that's affiliated with possibly the NFL or another company, kind of like the Live Golf thing, where Saudi Arabia or somebody pours a bunch of money into a professional football league. And, you see the Jalen Hales team with Arch Manning go make, $1 million a year for 3 years in this league. You know what I mean? It would destroy.
It's funny. I won't watch USFL. I didn't even know it was on TV. Exactly. I just happened to see an ad that the championship game's coming up this weekend.
Imagine that being replaced with top high school players.
Yes.
Simulating college football. I'd watch the heck out of that.
Yeah, college football is just different because so many people. You have a tie to it. I think that's the reason they're talking about adding another NFL team. I just don't know if it would work because you moved, let's say, San Diego or St. Louis to LA, and it just hasn't had they just won a Super Bowl and they couldn't sell out their own home games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't think I would watch that, Frank, but I don't know that I'm your average fan.
Exactly. I agree. I would watch it as well, but I don't think any of us that are going to be on here are your average fan. We do sports for a living. We want to see that. But I just don't think there's a reason for it. For basketball, it works out with the G League and stuff because if I'm a hooper that's good as a senior, I can go play pro for the most part. If you can hoop, you can hoop. But there's not football players there's not many football players that can hop in there with the grown man and take that beating. They're just not. So I don't think that's going to work out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It wouldn't be grown men. It would be.
Are you saying that all will be high school players?
It would be the 3 years from senior year to you're eligible for the NFL, just like college. It would be the same age group.
Man, Frank, I think we might already be living in it though. That's the thing. I've had the opportunity to visit some colleges here recently, and let me tell you what my takeaway is when I go.
Let me ask you first. You got any eligibility left?
Do I?
Yeah. I thought you visited colleges.
This guy.
Go play some left tackle.
Yeah, so I'm out here visiting these colleges, going through seeing what a recruit sees, and in my eyes, I'm seeing it. All right, yeah, this is cool. This is cool.
Yeah.
Some are a lot nicer than others, But let me tell you what I don't see. I don't see this room that we always hear about where you go and do study hall and this or that. That's nowhere to be found. But
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
talks about it. But I've never seen one. Okay, but you have room after room after room of, all right, this is the DB room. This is where we're going to go do our meetings for football and team rooms, this and that. But this room they speak of that every college talks about, I've yet to see. So I really, I find it very hard to believe that Johnny Manziel went to college.
You picked a bad example. No one believes that.
Okay. Well, give me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anybody else is believable, not that one.
Vince Young. I find it very hard to believe. Like,
Yeah, those guys.
and when I mean that, like, I don't think Ramones Taylor was going to college. Like, we're talking about some old guys, but like, I'm not saying your average college athlete isn't. I'm just saying, if you're an All-American, you don't want to go to college. Like, you
Yeah.
think they're going to let you fail?
No, I mean, Vince Young scored the lowest in the history of the Wonderlic test. So in a way, he was paying attention, huh?
Yeah.
That test is stupid.
It probably is, but I think he misspelled his own name.
I totally agree, though. Like, I mean, they're celebrities now already. You get there, and now, especially now, you get into the bag as well while you're there. I mean, school, it was already secondary, but now I think it may be even third on the list of things you're worried about.
Yeah, I mean, everything I look around to see is like, does it have a wow factor? How nice is the weight room? They all have the nutrition thing. A&M even has an area where they make your smoothies. They draw your blood, or you do like the swab thing, and then you have your vitamins waiting on you the next time you walk in there. Like you're like, let's say, don't have enough of this or that, your pills are waiting there for you next time you walk in there. So I mean, it's changed. I mean, a lot. And like Texas has some nice facilities. I hadn't been everywhere, but that I've seen, and it's amazing what they're doing, and I just don't know what is it. Ohio State made more than like 33% of NFL teams or something last year, or something like that. Like, what really is more important? Let's be honest. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think maybe at some point it may have been the focus was still there on school, but after guy after guy after guy that keeps coming through and their focus isn't on that, and then you see the revenue that's coming from what they really are focused on. Well, hey, let's just go that route. You know what I mean?
And let's be honest, and I probably shouldn't say this, but how important really is it now?
Exactly.
Like, if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, RN, you're going to work in a hospital, like you want to be an engineer, yes. But I'll be honest, a lot of these guys, I don't even know what their degree is in. Like, what's your degree going to be? And they'll tell me, like, I have no idea what it is.
We live in a world now where a 12-minute YouTube video can teach you to do just about anything, for real.
Yeah.
And then a lot of guys get into college and they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they're like, okay, I want to do this. This is my field I want to go into. Yeah. Well, then they've got that football load, then that class load gets on top of them, and then that at the end of that first semester, you're in there with the advisor, and she's telling you, okay, this is the route you're going to take, because you're not going to be on the field taking this route. So now they're going to be a coach. I'm not knocking on coaches, but that's what they're getting a degree in, is PE or whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it works in the college football game.
Nick, I'm gonna give you a fade off a YouTube video whenever you get ready to cut your hair. With my beard.
I look at Trey. Trey's one of the smartest people I know, and I don't know what his degree's in, but you can't tell me he got his degree on how smart he is. Whatever he got his degree in, I'm telling you, Trey could have done 3 or 4 times something harder than that. Like, he's literally one of the smartest people I know. So he was there to play football and go to the NFL, and it worked out for him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Exactly.
But like, it's always like the older generations are, they're getting a free education. Like, who cares? Like, are you just going to set aside that everybody in that building is making money off them? Are we just not? Are we going to act like that doesn't exist? Exactly. Yes, you're a baby boomer. A college degree was the best thing you could have 60 years ago.
Yeah, and it cost you $400.
Yeah, like, I mean, you have teachers going in debt 6 figures to come out and make a wage that doesn't make sense compared to what they owe on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like I don't understand this whole they shouldn't be paid because they're you know
Amateur
they're,
athletes.
they're like oh they're playing football. So what?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
you tell me you can't make money because you're on the football team, like and you're paying $40,000 a year tops at some of these schools. Like get out of here. And the school's
Exactly.
making 80 million.
Stadium selling
if
out
you're
every weekend. They're selling the jersey with your number on it, but just not your name. But everybody knows who it is. Like when Reggie Bush was going to school at USC,
oh
everybody
yeah.
in the country is wearing the maroon and gold number 5 jersey. Like we know it's a Reggie Bush jersey.
I would bet money if you took NBA jerseys out of the equation, just football jerseys, that probably the best selling jersey in the country is a college athlete's jersey.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So I don't know. I'm a fan of the kids getting paid. I don't know that I'm a fan of this NIL thing anymore.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA screwed everybody.
They got off the hook.
NCAA should be paying the players. Like they should be taking their revenue, and they should be. And I don't mean like $100,000 a player. They should be paying them $20,000-$30,000 a year. What they did was they said, no. We're not going to give our money. Y'all go out and try to earn your own money.
Exactly.
NCAA is the problem for this. It's nobody else. NCAA is the problem.
Exactly.
And I think, Frank, instead of doing the league like you're talking about, here's what I foresee. I foresee the SEC at some point is a 20-team league, and they're no longer ran by the NCAA. They're its own entity. The SEC is our USFL.
I second that.
That's what I mean, by 2030, I think that's what's going to be. There's no reason that the SEC should be playing some of these West Coast teams anymore. And the only reason they play some of these teams that we've never heard of is because that's what keeps those teams afloat. Like they're paying them $1 million to come play Alabama, knowing they're going to lose by a ton of points because they need the money to stay going. So I don't know. We'll see, but I don't. At this point, why is add Ohio State, add Michigan, drop Vanderbilt, drop Kentucky, maybe add Miami, get the big name schools in there, and that's it.
You can't drop Vandy. Well, I guess I could do the different sports thing. But so you can't drop Vandy for baseball, and you can't drop Kentucky for basketball.
Listen, man, baseball doesn't make money like football. It just doesn't.
The SEC,
the
SEC makes money by having 6 of the 12 teams be SEC teams inside of the World Series. They make money when the SEC team wins the World Series.
All right, here's what I want to know. Have Cam Google this. Yeah, I know he's listening. How much did the football national champions get paid for winning the national championship? And then I want to know what Ole Miss got paid for winning the national championship in baseball. That's what I want him to look up right now. It's going to be in TV revenue. That's what I want to know. And it's not going to be comparable. I mean, you can Google it if you want to, but I'm telling you it's not going to be comparable.
It might not be comparable. I'm just saying it is more revenue.
Yeah,
you drop those teams out. I mean, that's just like you're not going to get that out of the team you're going to add in. You're not going to get a baseball team in the World Series out of adding.
Listen, I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know how many people watched the baseball game, but I do know it's not near as much as football. I would be willing to say it's 3 or 4 times.
I can assure you, dropping Vanderbilt and adding Clemson's a net positive.
Yes.
No matter how much money they get paid.
Any way you want to look at it. Yeah. We're talking about football. I've yet to see big NIL deals for baseball players.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right, so, and I just don't, and they're like, I guess we might as well talk about it since we're on it. They're going to, not the UIL, the state is going to vote on NIL for high school athletes.
I'm for it.
In the state of Texas. That's coming. And unpopular opinion here, Gameday is going to be signing kids.
I'm for it. I think it's great. I think it's a reason. I think it's a way to keep kids in high school because that's what I think that's why it all came out in the first place. Because we don't need any Quinn Ewers. We don't need you guys leaving your senior year for going it. So let's get you some money in your pocket. You got your girlfriend at home. You got your buddies here. You play football for this school. You love it here. Don't go leave early. Stay here. I got you. I got you a little bit of bread.
Well, here's the problem. I'm 100% against it for high school. Like if I could be more than 100%, I'd be that. But like if it happens, game day's gonna sign kids. It's just what it is. It's the next spot of evolution. I hope it doesn't, because here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna use some teams not from around here. Highland Park, South Lake Carroll, Austin Westlake, Katy are gonna have the best players money can buy in high school. And it's not going to be like players are going to be getting paid. It's going to be when you tell me it's illegal, they're going to go get kids. And I'm just going to use this as a reference, and I could be wrong. Let's keep this in mind. Dallas South Oak Cliff. They ain't going to win a state championship. Those kids aren't going to be on that team. Those kids are going to be playing at Allen. They're going to be gone because they're going to come in and get them. It just is what it is. So it would be detrimental to Texas high school football, and I don't think it would be immediately. But you let 4 or 8 years go by of that happening, and the same teams are going to be playing for it every single year. No longer do you have a great athlete and he carries you to a state championship. That's not going to be enough anymore.
But how does that? I don't know how that has with the district and the district alignment and being able to go to this school and this school. Will that stuff change? Or are you saying they're just going to?
I mean, first off, they pick and choose on that deal. Don't think for a second.
Yeah, they do.
Backroom deals aren't made on that. This whole coach from, I can't think of the name of the town, it's somewhere around us, transferred to coach at a different school, and his son is not eligible to play quarterback and start there. The UIL came down with that ruling. But you're telling me, that didn't even make sense. But this other kid transfers from Allen to Katy, number 1 player in the state, and he can't play. He can play. But this other quarterback can't. His dad just took a job somewhere else. Like, they pick and choose what they want to do. And let me tell you that where this kid went, he went from a bigger school to a smaller school. Frank, it's one of the teams that Longview played last year at home. It was their quarterback. From like North Texarkana. I can't think of the name of them off the top of my head. Longview won handily, but
yeah,
they were brown and white, maybe.
Yeah,
I can't think of them. All right. Anyway, their starting quarterback was going to this small 3A school. His dad transferred there to take a job, and they rule him ineligible. But the number 1 player in the state transfers from the biggest school, Allen, to Katy, Pateau, and he's immediately eligible. So you want to transfer to like Atlanta, Texas? No, that's not going to happen. But if you want to go to Katy, Pateau, oh, no problem. They have a bigger voice than Atlanta at the UIL, evidently. You know what I mean? So, man, it's like anything. I'm not going to say it's corrupt, but it's definitely not fair.
Was it Sherman?
It's not. Yeah, Sherman. It's not fair consistently, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I agree.
And if they open the NIL thing up for high school, this David Hicks kid, who's especially him because his dad's a coach, he's for hire. You know, so I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen, but you never really know. But here's what I do know: East Texas is loaded again. We have a lot of good football players. Have a lot of great football teams. First show on the super late lunch menu. Nick, you want to make any preseason predictions?
Preseason predictions. Oh man, it's early. Let me get a few practices under my belt. And then I'll have a prediction for you.
All right. I hear that. That's what I was going to do anyway. Frank, you got any parting thoughts?
Yeah. Preseason prediction. Texas is not back. Alabama beats them by 40, and they lose 4 games.
How could you say that?
Because I've been a Texas fan all my life, and I know, and I'm not a delusional one at that.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. What does Arkansas look like this year without their super seniors? Or were they going back to 2-win Arkansas?
No, they'll win 5 games. They're going to come close to getting bowl eligible. They're not that bad.
The Arkansas thing for me, man, I gotta see. You gotta show me something. Like you said, the super seniors, that was a huge deal. That was a huge deal. I mean, the smarter your O linemen are, especially when it comes to the O line, the smarter your O linemen are, the better your offense is. That's hands down. That's a guarantee. When you start replacing those super guys that have been there for 5 and 6 years with guys who've been there for 1 and 2 years and only played 20 snaps, 30 snaps. It gets rough, especially against Alabama, LSU. You know what I mean? That's a tough schedule.
Yeah, Alabama's going to have Quinn Ewers thinking he's seeing ghosts.
All right, so let me ask you this. I saw something that Quinn Ewers has never thrown for less than 350 yards in any level of football
In a game?
in a game.
I believe it. I've seen him play.
I find that stat super hard to believe, but it was posted by a reputable source. And I mean in high school is what I mean.
Yeah.
Keep in mind he started a lot. But, like, you're telling me he never threw for less than 350 yards in a football game? Like, how does that translate to college? I mean, he threw for like 450 in that state game against Austin Westlake. Of course, Austin Westlake won big, but, I mean, it wasn't like he didn't ball. It wasn't his fault they lost. So, like, is this Alabama thing? Is it going to be the same thing? Because I just don't feel like we're going to leave here talking about, Quinn Ewers lost us that game.
Hey, I've been watching Arch Manning highlight videos. It looks like he's out here playing Como Picton High School.
I wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. I was going to bring that
out here
up.
looking like some
I
JV
saw that too.
He's not playing against elite competition.
No.
Exactly, and let's not forget his tight end is the number one tight end in the country right now, and he is a freaking monster. And he dumps it off to him a lot. That same up the middle.
They ain't beating Union Grove.
What does Arch Manning do? Let's just say his team comes. Where would they be at in Texas football, you think? Because, like, they're dominating Louisiana.
I'm not hating on Louisiana football. Louisiana's got some good pockets. I've seen a lot of good Louisiana football, but I've also seen there's like a lot of like West Monroe that you've never, they don't have kids those kids are going to go work on the farm or go out to the bayou when they get done playing in high school. They're not going to go play anywhere else. So I don't know. I don't know how to really compare.
Yeah, Doty said it's a good point. If his last name wasn't Manning, we wouldn't know who he was. That's a good point.
I mean,
but maybe he's going to ball. I mean, Vince Young was the last perfect ranked quarterback, and he did pretty good. So I just wish they were a couple of years apart because I think Quinn's that dude.
I think Quinn's that dude too. I saw him play, like I said. Everything I've read from like the Ohio State forums while he was there is all positive. It wasn't like he got ran out of there or anything like that. So,
I mean, he was technically a high school kid.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I mean, this would technically be his freshman year of college. So, I don't know. We'll see, but
it was technically a rich high school kid.
Got to get it.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, man. That's going to be it for today. We'll check y'all maybe tomorrow. We'll see what pops up, what news pops up. Got anything, Nick?
That's it. Just get ready for some football. Stay out of this heat.
Yeah, no joke. Frank?
No, I'm straight.
All right. Want to say thanks to Cam, our dude behind the scenes. We appreciate it. We'll catch y'all next time.